Hey, welcome to the first official episode of the Golden Moment podcast. My name's Mijo Biscan. In today's episode, we're going to kick everything off with an interview with my good friend Svavar Knutur. He's an Icelandic singer-songwriter, musician. He's also one of the funniest people I've ever met. And he's toured the world. He's released 4 solo records. He's released albums with his band. He has supported the likes of Glenn Hansard, and he has recorded with Marketa Glover, also from Once, the movie. But really the main reason I want to kick it all off with Svavar is he's been a really important part of my own musical journey of creating my album Golden Moment, but really in my development as a singer-songwriter. So we go into it a little bit in this episode, but in 2008, I went to Iceland just as the economic collapse was happening, and I met Svavar through a mutual friend, Pete Uhlenbrock, who's a Melbourne singer-songwriter, and Svavar mentioned he had a house in the north of Iceland, that it was like a holiday house, and I asked him if I could come back and have a songwriting retreat and just write songs. The house is in the middle of nowhere. It's a really big part of my story and my journey. And he said, yeah, I'll just ask my mum. And she was cool with it. So I came back a year later, tucked myself away in this Icelandic cabin in the very far north part of Iceland, in the middle of nowhere, and basically wrote songs for a month. So I wrote a song a day. I took walks in nature. I journaled. I just really entered this creative space of a songwriting retreat. And I had some enormous sort of creative breakthroughs while I was there. So I really wanted to honor Svavar by having him as the first guest of this podcast, because that's really where so much of this started. So you'll really enjoy this conversation. Svavar, we go into all nooks and crannies. We talk about his songwriting process. We talk about praying mantises. We talk about authenticity is a really huge topic for Svavar. He talks about that from the perspective of the Icelandic culture and why authenticity is so important. And it's a really fun conversation. So if you want to find out more about Svavar, you can go to svavarknutur.com. His link will be in the show notes or in the description below. Please go check out his music. He's a phenomenal musician. And when he gets up and running, touring again, go and see him live. He is... his show is a roller coaster. It's absolutely gorgeous and beautiful and deep and meaningful and thoughtful, and also hysterical. It's probably one of the funniest shows I've ever seen. So that's about it. Without further ado, here's my conversation with Svavar Knutur. Here I am with Mr. Svavar Knutur, all the way from Iceland,
Hello.
Reykjavik. How's it going, man?
It's fine, yeah. The sun is shining longer and longer in the night. And I've started a little balcony garden with kale and tomatoes and strawberries and stuff, and we're hoping that before October we have something to eat, because it grows very slowly.
How long are the days now? Because obviously there it gets to full sun all day around in the middle of summer.
Yeah, right now I think they're almost at... It stopped getting really dark, so I think our days are now almost like 22 or 21 hours.
Wow!
Like in the night, it's like a twilight of 2 or 3 hours. Yeah, cool. It's nice. Awesome. It fucks up our. It really screws with time. Perspectives and perceptions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool.
So we're all like, sometimes you're barbecuing in the middle of the night, and
I remember when I was there seeing a photo you showed me of you and some friends down at the cabin around a campfire. And I was like, that looks really weird. You get a campfire in the middle of the day and you all look really wasted. And you're like, no, man, it was like 2 a.m. But it just looks like you're just having a picnic in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mind melting.
Yeah, you have a campfire and it's just like a cookout.
Yeah.
And but that's just like what it is. It's that's the only time you can actually be outside hanging out in the night. It's the summer.
Yeah.
Because if you're hanging out in the night in the winter, it's just cold and miserable and wet and dark, and you can't light a fire.
Yeah.
So the summers are weird.
Yeah. One of the main reasons I wanted to chat to you is because our friendship goes back now. I don't know. I think we met in about 2008 or 9. That's crazy, actually.
Yep.
So we've known each other 12 years, and I came there for a week or 2, and then we did a couple of concerts, and that was organised through our mutual friend Pete Uhlenbrach, Owls of the Swamp.
Yeah.
And then as part of
legend.
He's a legend. As part of that, you off the cuff at some point mentioned you had this like house in the north, an old family house, and it's in the middle of nowhere, and it's become a bit of a mythical place because I talk about it all the time. At that point,
and John McBaron actually recorded there as well, and some others,
Yeah. And so when I heard about it, my eyes lit up, and I was like, do you reckon I could go there and do some songwriting? And you're like, yeah, man, totally. And I came back the next year, and I went there for a month and wrote songs. And so I get to thank you again.
Yeah,
for
my mom's still talking about that. What's that?
Yeah, she's a legend too.
My mom is still talking about how impressed she was with you, and the wonderful friend of yours, Mijo from Australia, what a legend he was, and he left us this speaker, and like she's still using the speaker for like everything. Yeah,
cool. But yeah, it was such an important part of my like songwriting musical journey, and so the album I've just released, the first song on it is "Oh Raven," which I wrote in the cabin at that time, so that was 2009 or whatever. And it's been it's become a bit of a favorite when I play it live, and it wouldn't have happened if I didn't have that experience. So
no, man, like inspirations come from environments and places and new experiences,
Yeah. Well, maybe that's a good opportunity to talk more about your kind of songwriting and what you've been doing. So I will have sort of introduced a few of the things you've been doing, but when I remember there was also a big transition point for you around the time we met where you decided you were going to go kind of full-time doing music, and you've been doing that a long time now, and you've really established yourself in many ways, lots of touring and stuff like that. But maybe tell us that story of just how you decided to just do it.
Oh yeah. Well, I'd been working all kinds of jobs. I never wanted to be a musician, really. It was not a kind of attractive thought, the life of an artist. Because I always thought that it was a life of insecurity and instability, and how could I possibly give that to my child and now my children? But just music just started taking up more and more space in my life. I was playing and writing and performing, and all of a sudden I was asked to be touring in Germany, and I thought, well, I don't want to stop this. I've never wanted to quit music, and so it just became a choice. I kind of had to make a choice between the full-time job I had and music, and so I decided to try. And for the first couple of years, it was very, very hard. And then I guess, like, I didn't start making more money. I just started being able to get away with less. And, you know, kind of you just kind of acclimate to a little bit harder life. And I don't know, I just really, this is the only job I've never quit, you know, like, and I used to have like all kinds of odd jobs, and I was a journalist, I was a social capital consultant and stuff like that, and it was always for like 3 years, 2.5 years. I was a webmaster at an IT company for like a year and stuff like that, and I was a fisherman. But this is the only job that I've really just like never felt like quitting. But I do look a lot at the want ads, you know, the employment ads every now and then, just like, oh my God, I could just do that and just walk out of this shit. Yeah. But then somehow I always decide to continue this because I think, well, I've pitched in, you know, I've already, you know, gone in deep. You know, so I better stick with the game. And it's fun and it's lovely and it's in more and more ways I find deeper and deeper purpose and meaning with this, especially with regards to kind of a musician, especially a folk musician like I am. The role of the folk musician to preserve and guard and cultivate his own heritage, the traditions, the poems and the melodies of our language and of our culture, and to kind of be the gardener of our cultural garden, one of the gardeners, you know, tending to it. And to listen to the stories of the old people, to try to figure out where we all fit in, and to be this connector between experiences of the younger and the older generations. You know, I love that role here in Iceland, and then I can go abroad and basically channel all the knowledge and all of the things that I've recognized in my own culture, and channel them into my own songs and channel them into stories, and be like this ambassador for my country and my culture, and try to find the positive things that my culture can bring to the world, I guess, like you have, and like so many, and like Tim McMillan has, and Pete, all of these amazing artists that travel around the world, and they are really, most of them, working hard on just bringing forth the most positive aspects of their own culture and bringing it to this potluck, you know, cultural potluck that is touring, and hoping that people pick up on this. Like, I think one of the most important cultural ideas of Icelanders and Nordic countries is this idea of happiness not being smiling and laughing all the time and being in always a good mood, but happiness being more a deeper feeling of contentment within yourself and deep-seated security in your own being, and with that, not being unseated by trauma and troubles, and not being unsettled by the things that happen to you, you know, financial or personal or whatever. So if you have that, then if you have this hamingja, which is the word we have, it means you are more prone to be happy, you know, and you don't have to be, like, you're more prone to be smiling and laughing, like the traditional English definition of a happiness, which is, we think it's very, very shallow. And so we really want to bring this idea of happiness to the world, because we think if more people embrace this kind of happiness, more people will actually realize that they can be happy with less material goods, with less ideas that they are so successful, with more finding your inner peace and finding this relationship with yourself that makes you actually a whole human being, and therefore a happy human being. And I think this base, this like little core, this nugget is my fuel. This is what I want to bring to the table.
Great.
I do that through a lot of my work. So so that's like deciding to be a musician was actually, in a way, deciding to become that, like the ambassador of this idea for my culture.
So with that realization of that's what you are actually doing, there's the role of being the musician and writing songs and performing, but there's a much deeper role to it, like you're saying, like whether it's a troubadour or being an ambassador of your culture or whatever. Is that something that was and prevalent in the beginning? Like, did you sort of set out knowing that, or how did that sort of sink in as like, oh, I'm not just singing songs and going from place to place. I'm actually doing something much more important here.
Well, here's the magical thing about it is that when I was starting to do it, when I was starting to play music to people and around, I felt always that, I was making people laugh and I'm making people sing, and people were responding with happiness and joy with, to what I was saying, but and playing. But I always felt there was this more like a deeper satisfaction and purpose to the whole thing. And I was always getting like a deeper, this kind of, like a co-wave, like a subcarrier wave of some deeper purpose. And I just slowly realized what that feeling was, and that's what I've been describing. So it was always there. I always felt it, and that was the feeling. Like the other thing, I can get feelings of joy and enjoyment, and I'm doing a good job from all kinds of jobs, But only through this one, for me, did I feel this deep purpose of working for society, working for community, and for the whole of humanity, trying to be somehow the bringer of some goodness for humanity. And even if I don't get millions of people to listen, just knowing that there's might be 40, 50 people that really dive into my music and my message and what I stand for, that's already I have made a huge difference in this world.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I think it's such a powerful, Yeah, such an important role. So, the reason I sort of like digging into that with you is because, in my own journey, it really took me time to figure out that what I'm naturally interested in actually has a lot of value, cultural value. And because in the Australian culture, maybe actually I think it is very different in Iceland. Like when I came there, everyone's learning at a young age, learning at least 2 instruments, and the arts are respected in a different way. But in Australia and the household I grew up in, it was kind of like this nice thing to do, but, don't get too serious about it. So it took me a while to really understand that actually this goes far deeper than, I like making sounds on a guitar or whatever. And also artists that I talk to and mentor or whatever, I see this as like the fundamental understanding and belief that if this thing's in place, like a deep connection to a real purpose and context for your art, it makes it far more likely, that you're going to move forward. And when you do cop a hit, like a global pandemic strikes, it's a good time to throw your hands up in the air and be like, screw it. But when that deeper purpose is there, it's such a strong force, motivating force to keep you going. Would you Agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. And it hasn't budged my resolve at all. There has been no dent in my resolve to be a musician full time and as a vocation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
I think it's funny with Icelanders. I mean, we have a lot of faults. Our culture is not perfect, not by a long shot. We are disorganized, and we are not good at planning, and we are sometimes, like a little bit unstable in many ways, but just like our nature. But a lot of people come here and they think that because we are not always smiling and we're not always laughing, that we must be unfriendly or unhappy, But it's exactly the opposite. We are very profoundly happy and friendly. It's just not one of the central ideas of presentation in Icelandic society that you're always supposed to be smiling. It's not an important presentation here.
Yeah.
A serious face or a quiet attitude is actually more valued. And so a lot of people just bump into that and freak out when they come here because we are stone-faced or whatever. But it is our way to be polite and friendly. It's to be, hello, Mijo, I am a staple type.
Yeah.
Hello.
It's also extremely authentic, which is what I love about you. Like, you're just yourself, like, sitting there, but also on stage, you're really just yourself, and you just let the chips
because
fall
I can't
where
be
they
bothered.
may.
I can't.
Yeah.
We just can't be bothered to present some. What should I be presenting? Like, really, do you want me to sell you carpets? I don't know.
Yeah.
I've always had like this. I've got something to grind with this idea of the mystique of an artist. That an artist is supposed to be mysterious. Mysterious. What is that? Like a mystery? Like what? Are we supposed to see the artist and then think there's something about him we don't know? It's like a mystery here. And what is the mystery? Like, did he murder someone, or like did he rob a bank? Does he collect stamps? Does the artist have a home with like a secret door into his lair? Is he Batman? No, there's no one is Batman. There is no superhero. There is no Batman. He's not a pirate. There is no mystery. Does he do drugs? That's his mystery. Yeah, if he does drugs, it's just because he's miserable. Somebody hurt him. If he's doing these hard drugs, and that's not a mystery. That's a kind of a tragedy, and it should be addressed. But that's I hate this idea of the mystery of the artist, and that's what all the record companies and all these agencies and managers, they always want to try to sell this. It's your story, it's your mystery. It's you can't reveal yourself too much to the audience, then there's nothing left to get. There's nothing to get. We're just monkey meat bags trying to make sense of a world that is confusing and hard. And I don't want to even burden the world with a layer of faux mystery, extra layer of shit for everyone to figure out. But then, there's this bug, there's this, what do they call, it's like a subclass of mantis, praying mantis. Like a subfamily, where she eats the head of the male after procreating, but then the males figure out to capture a fly and give it to them, and then pound on him. So while the lady is distracted, they do it, and then they run away, but it doesn't work all of the time, because she finishes eating the fly and then she eats them. Then they start packaging the fly in paper. Have you heard about this?
No, not
they package
part.
put
head off. Yeah.
Yeah, But like this is advanced stuff. Like they put the fly in paper, like the paper around it with saliva and paper, and then they give it to her like a present.
Yeah, right.
And then she has to unwrap it and then eat it.
Right.
So like that takes more time.
Yeah.
And they do their business and run away.
Right.
And those guys are like more advanced, you know. And then there's like the third one that they make a package for the lady and they give it to her, and then they start getting on and she's unwrapping it, and then they leave and there's nothing in the package.
Oh.
Well, that's most development, like evolutionary advantage, you know. They didn't even catch a fly. They just like made a little paper package for her, and she's like, "Oh, curious." And then they bang her, and then they go away. And for me, that's the whole artist with a mystery bag, you know.
Right. I was wondering,
audience, hey, I got something for you all to figure out about me because I'm so mysterious. Unwrap this while I
bang you.
Go off with your money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you don't eat my head.
Yeah. I guess the human...
And I'm so grateful not to be part of that. This is the human version of that.
Yeah. And so the authenticity part comes back to, this kernel that you want to share with people, this idea you want to share with people about Icelanders being more neutral, because they're removing that layer of shit. It's just, I think that's what I noticed with Icelanders. They're just not playing a game. Like, I guess in Australia, from the British culture, there's a lot of just beating around the bush, like, oh, I think this and where Icelanders, and when I lived in Germany, people are just direct. And I remember the first time that really happened after I did a solo gig. And then someone came up to me who had seen me the year before with a band, and they're like, I much prefer you with a band. And it was just really direct. And that would just never happen at an Australian gig. They'd be like, oh, great gig, man. Let's go have a beer. And I just said, thank you so much for just being honest. Like, it was so refreshing. And same as when I was in Iceland, like, you just know what you're getting. There's no bullshit. And I
and then
I agree, it should be much more of it.
You come the next time. Then when you come the next time, that guy might say, oh, listen, when I told you last time I preferred you with a band, I'm kind of getting used to you without a band. I like this too. And then they'll develop with you, like, and they won't be so invested in this one idea that no, I liked him with the band and I'm never going to like him again or something like that, because it's part of who they are.
Yeah.
Now, my opinion is who I am, which is totally wrong. And
exactly.
Try to divorce yourself from your opinions, on stuff. Like a lot of people just vote. Like for example, I'm looking at this situation with Trump, and I think a lot of people are still kind of rooting for him in America because of the same reasons. When you buy a car and it's a piece of shit car, but you spend a lot of money on it and you don't want to be wrong.
Yeah, you don't want to admit to your friends you made a bad decision.
This car. Yeah, you don't want to admit that you fucked up. You made a bad call on the car, because now that's going to reflect on you as a human being. But it's not. The thing that reflects more on you as a human being is your inability to divorce yourself from your own decisions and say I made a bad decision. That's a lot cooler. I made a mistake. Yeah, but when people can't even admit that they made mistakes, that's even a worse flaw. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes. That's not a human flaw. That's actually they call it's a feature, not a bug, that we make mistakes. It's a beautiful part of our lives, and admitting to making mistakes is actually what makes us better human beings. But a lot of people, they think that making mistakes is the bug, and admitting to the bug makes you look weak.
Yeah,
and that's where our trouble starts.
Yeah, also it's interesting that when someone is just honest with you and said, I fucked up and I made a bad decision. It's interesting that your trust for that person, even though they're revealing the flaw, your trust for them goes up. It doesn't go down. because
yeah,
you know that, okay, well, next time they fuck up, they're not going to hide it from me. Like, I'm actually safe with this person. They're going to reveal it, you know. When they get it wrong, they're going to call it, and you can move forward. And it comes back to just this honesty thing, that when you're dealing with someone authentically, you don't have to constantly be second guessing whether they're about to hand you a fly wrapped in paper and then shag you from behind. You can just be like, cool, let's just
paper with no fly.
Step. Let's just get on with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Just give me the fly. A fly is good. Just give a fly.
Yeah. Just give me the fly directly.
Give who you are.
It. So,
but like the whole package without the fly is just such a perfect metaphor for like the pop culture packaging thing, when they're trying to manufacture a story about like an artist, and then when you try to unpack it, there's nothing there. It's nothing. It's just like PR, like PR.
Yeah.
Blah.
Yeah.
They make all these videos on.
Okay. Well, we've got a bit of a delay happening here, so we keep interrupting each other. But
yeah, sure.
Yeah, I wanted to ask. Well, I wanted to get back to some of your music and songwriting. So earlier you mentioned, you know, the idea of inspiration. What's your sort of songwriting process, if there is one, or do you set time aside? Do songs just come and then you work on them bit by bit? Because your songwriting, for people who haven't heard it, but they will once they see this, I'll link to your music. You're such a great songwriter. You're such a developed songwriter, and I don't know how that progression really happened. I feel like you've got a lot of, you know, experience listening to lots of music and a knack for it, lyrically, melodically, like chord choices, all that stuff. It's just beautiful arrangements, all of it. It's so delightful when I'm experiencing one of your songs. Yeah, and so how do you do it?
I'm terrible at writing songs. I'm terrible at the work process.
Right.
For example, now I haven't written a song in a year. It's been a whole year I haven't written anything. The last song I wrote was called Januar, and I'm still now trying to work on stuff. Well, I've got a lot of ideas, like song ideas, mostly melodies and chord progressions and stuff, but the words are always the hardest part, I guess, because I have high expectations to what each song is supposed to be saying. And it's very rare that I just let a song be a song. It's like about something, and it doesn't matter what. So I always have a very, very high standard of like what idea is supposed to be coming into the song, because I don't want to be presenting a package with nothing in it. So a lot of the time I am waiting for the idea to form itself. I have it in the back of my mind, and it takes a long time to form and foment. And when it eventually does, it's a harrowing process of figuring out how to tell the idea through the already established melody that has been in my mind for a longer time, that has claimed this idea. So the melody claims the idea. And it's often very hard for me to divorce the melody from the idea. And then I have to find a way for the words to fit the melody seamlessly, and also for vowels and kind of like certain rhythmical elements of the words and melodic elements of words, because ia sounds different than ie and ou, you know, and uo like you have these ways to go up and down in the melody with certain vowels, and all the while try to guard this idea and try to make the idea that you're trying to convey always present itself as a stable and like a stable metaphor. So and also as something that makes sense to the listener, like that you're not being all mysterious about what you mean, but just honest about what you mean. And maybe like a lot of the time I will just have like one layer of metaphor in the song, so that the song just tells a story, which is a very, very stable story, which makes sense. And then underneath that story is the whole message of the song. But it's not a hard. I don't want to treat my listeners as people that want to break video games. Like I found a secret level. No, just I just want to give you this. And it's and that's hard for me, and it is painful, this process, and it's frustrating, and I get very, very frustrated and angry, and like when I'm writing, and I thrash around mentally, and then like this, we have this saying that the mountain went into labor and gave birth to a mouse. Have you heard about this?
No.
Oh, it's a saying. It's an Icelandic saying that the mountain went into labor and a mouse was born. And it sometimes feels like that's my mind, that I'm struggling, and then just some ukulele song comes out.
Yeah.
And it's all this pain for this. Are you shitting me? But that's just the process,
Yeah.
Always painful.
It's interesting. I think the perception of musicians or whatever, and I suppose you hear lots of stories that, I don't know, someone sat down and all in one sitting wrote this perfect thing or whatever. But there's also this other side of being a creative person, that the thing, the thing that terrifies lots of songwriters is the act of sitting down and songwriting. It's like the thing you most love is also the thing that's most terrifying, and that's why we avoid it. Because you have to really prepare yourself, because you're about to reveal something to yourself or about yourself, or but the idea that you should always love what you do, or should always feel good, or just follow your passion and all that stuff. I'm thinking more and more that you should confront the things that are most terrifying, because they're usually aligned with who you are, especially in the creative world.
Yeah, and I think that's so correct. That is so correct. That it's always you're confronting a really hard feeling. This feeling when you're sitting down to write. It's always with a sense of dread that I do it, and I just, oh my God, I can't. Oh, and then slowly something comes out, and I get really obsessed with it, and the song just really owns me for like a month or two. While like after everything comes out, after I write the song, I'm just like really obsessed with it. Like, what does this mean? Like, because sometimes the words come out unconsciously in the end. Like, why did I write these words? Wow. Okay, and I'm kind of decoding my own thoughts. And it's always the same struggle. Struggle. The struggle is real.
It's fascinating, and I suppose a nearby metaphor is a woman giving birth to a child. It's obviously not the same thing, but so much, torment or agony or whatever can also produce something so beautiful, because you go through that, grinding process, and it's not always this way. Like, I don't know, sometimes songs do come easier than others, but
those easy little numbers.
Yeah, but it's interesting that such a grinding exercise, the revelation of something quite beautiful and pristine that can go into the world and do good or whatever. Because some of your songs are so, they go through that process and you're like, ah! And then they come into the world and they're so beautiful and they reveal something, that's just delightful. So I don't know how that works, but who cares? It's a beautiful thing. We don't need to know everything about it.
But I'm always willing to learn, and I'm always willing to see something like, could this work? Is this something that I might learn something from? And I was reading. I decided to buy Songwriting for Dummies.
Mm.
Just like, because why? There's might be something in there, and it's. I don't know. Like it was so condescending towards my genre, like folk singer-songwriter, and it was basically number one because it's an American book. And I guess, without wanting to throw shade on Americans, I think the American culture has a different idea of what is a good thing, like what is meaningful. And I think this book places so much emphasis on the whole making lots of money, like a song being a successful hit song, rather than how to reach into yourself and do the work. It was more about how do you reach a big mainstream audience and get your song on playlists, and that's not what I wanted to learn. And it's just this different ideas we have of success. For me, a successful singer-songwriter is a singer-songwriter that really gets in touch with him or herself or themselves and figures out how they're going to approach, this craft, there's a craft. But for the writers of this book, it was singer-songwriter, successful songwriter is just someone that sells a lot of songs for a lot of money. And it made me so sad.
Yeah. I watched it must have been a YouTube thing of some guy who studies songs. He studies all the number one hits of, I don't know, the last 5 years or something. And then he tells you what all the patterns are. And I could only get through a part of the video because I was like, I'm not interested in writing a song that does all these things. He's like, you got to get the hook in the first 4 seconds, the chorus, you can't wait longer than 30 seconds, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm out of here, pal. It's not what I'm interested in.
That whole songwriting formula, frankly, it just disgusts me. And I hear it immediately. If a song comes on the radio, I go a formula song. That's just
it's like a rom-com where you know how it's going to, the next scene and you know how it's going to end. It's there's no point even listening at that point.
Now the mean friend is going to, throw a wrench in the works and then the third act will start and blah, blah, blah. It's just,
So,
and it's, I did a co-writing session once with some guys from Scandinavia, and they actually sat down. It was I got it wrong somehow. I thought it was supposed to be writing together to try to reach ideas and figure out beauty in life, but then it turned out to be writing for to try to sell songs to Justin Bieber and stuff like that. And I was so wrong there, and I did not fit in. It felt very awkward. Yeah. And they actually sat so we have a request for a late album track. So
oh, what?
Late in the album for insert artist. And, the focus group is like girls 11 to 17 and gay boys 13 to 22. So we got to figure out, and then they started like, this one guy was like a lyric specialist, and he was like, they don't understand you like I do, blah, blah, blah. And, they were just like figuring shit, just fitting all these pieces.
A songwriting session. But
it felt like Motown or like we were making a car or a doll, like build your own bear thing.
So what's
the most painful experience I've ever had, in songwriting, just watching that and partaking in that.
That's pretty heartbreaking. What's next on the cards for you? I know this is a crazy time to make any predictions, but we'll probably start wrapping up.
Well, Iceland is doing quite well. We've managed through lots of testing and contact tracing, and our police force has actually been put to work with contact tracing and tracing the epidemic. So a lot of people go into quarantines that normally wouldn't, because the police actually realize, oh, he had contact with that person there, and so they go and like, please, you have to go to quarantine for 2 weeks and all that stuff. And we really protected our old folks' homes, so we only had like one outbreak in an old folks' home. So we're down to like 0 cases, new cases, and
great.
So we're starting society slowly. Like our swimming pools have opened up, and concerts are going to be on in a couple of days. We're going to be starting concerts.
Great.
And so I'm going to be touring Iceland a lot this summer.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm hoping to be able to go to Europe in October, November. But I'm, how shall we say, I'm modestly optimistic.
Yes, cool. But touring in Iceland is so good for you. Like when we toured, we had a ball going around Iceland, and people know you there, and you've been doing it a long time. So that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, but it's not gonna feed my kids.
Right.
It's a few.
Okay.
There's 330,000 of us, and like there's only so many times you can tour Iceland and make any financial sense out of it.
Yep.
So
your kids will have to.
I need my international market to be able to do anything.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this thing starts to clear everywhere, and you're able to go do that. Do the work you're here to do.
I've got some theater work in Germany in the spring, which is going to be nice.
Awesome.
They're writing for a theater piece.
Yeah.
Which is fun. Lots of fun.
Sweet. Well, we might have to leave it there.
I'm very optimistic. I'm very optimistic, and I'm feeling good about life and where we're going. I think this time, this COVID time, if we walk out of this without learning any lessons about humanity and our purpose and how we create a better society, I think that's the worst. That's the biggest waste of an opportunity. All these people died for nothing if we don't take any knowledge out of this about what kind of society we want to live in. And I think I hope people are just done with this every man for himself idea.
Yeah, great. Well, that's a somewhat optimistic note to end on. But yeah, I agree. We've got to learn our lesson, and well, it's a reality check. The whole thing is a massive reality check, and I think there are lots of silver linings from it. Obviously, there's lots of tragedy involved, but there are lots of silver linings that, if we do take the lessons and move on. So, hey man, we're going to do a part 2 of this because we're only getting started.
Yeah.
So thanks.
Beautiful.
Thanks for hanging out with us. I'm going to share your music with people. There are going to be links below, but where's the best place you want people to go to if they want more of you?
Just svavarknutur.com or something. I don't know.
Yeah, cool. Awesome.
Got everything.
I'll come to a concert when Svavar's back up and running. Go to a show.
I really want to come back to Australia too.
Yeah, man. That'd be great.
Let's make it happen.
We should go on tour together. We'll get Tim McMillan in on the thing. Peace out.
Yeah. Peace. Bye, guys.
Bye. So, there you go. There is Svavar Knutur. I'm very happy that you get to know Svavar through this podcast. Go check out his music. There will be links in the description below this video or in the show notes. Check him out. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to it. Do a review through iTunes or Stitcher. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment below. These sessions really are about starting a conversation. So if it prompted anything, leave me a comment. Shoot me an email at mijo@mijobiscan.com. And we can keep the conversation rolling. I hope you found it inspiring. If you'd like to get a download of my music, a free download, check out what I'm up to. You can go to mijobiscan.com/free music as one word. Also, while you're over there at mijobiscan.com, you can listen to the Golden Moment album. You can stream it for free. And if you really want a signed copy of it, I will sign it and send it to you anywhere in the world. You can get that at mijobiscan.com. Well, thanks for tuning in. I look forward to having you on the next call, and have an awesome time. Remember, stay golden, and I will catch you soon. Bye.